Okay, so when you're starting out an agroforestry system or a food forest on a degraded land, it's really important to know the best plants to start with or the best trees to start with. You might think right away, well, I just want to plant what I like to eat. Well, that's mistake number one, okay? Of course you can plant whatever it is that you like to eat, if your favorite fruit are mangoes or coconuts or whatever, but you also need to respect that you're working with a degraded system. So if at some point you're on your land and you're in tropical or subtropical area of the world, Latin America, Central America, or somewhere close to the equator, and your land was a pasture, meaning that it was deforested, and it looks like this, and that means your land is pretty seriously degraded. And by degraded means that the soil has very little life in it, it's probably very compacted, and it's probably hard as a rock, okay? So when Juan and I moved onto our land, the ground was very hard. You would take a spade, bam, and you would go to the ground, and the spade would just bounce back at you because the ground had been so compacted, it was so hard. So these plants that I'm going to tell you about today, the trees I'm telling you about today, are the best ones to help prepare the soil for your target cultivars, whether it's cacao, coconut, mango, whatever it is that you have in mind that you want to grow later on, okay? So number one, bananas and plantains. Can't beat it. Number one. The reason why is because with bananas and plantains, several reasons. They grow very fast. They grow very fast and they create, number two, a lot of biomass. So if you're like, what's biomass? Okay, biomass is just a fancy word for organic matter. Dead leaves, living leaves, the stems. You can use every single part of a banana plant for organic matter, for free fertilizer. When you take the trees down, you can also create what are called biomass traps or green fertilizer traps by cutting the trunks and filling them up with organic material. I've got another whole video on this, so I'll reference that in the notes and you guys can go check that out. Another advantage of bananas and plantains is, of course, fruits. You get to eat from them. Fantastic, okay? The last advantage is that they propagate themselves. So here you can see in this clump that the banana tree or the plantain tree, they're the same. They're not even really trees, guys. They're plants, okay? Just big furled up leaves inside propagate themselves. So you never have to replant. They send up little shoots alongside called patas. Patas means little feet in Spanish. And then these patas grow also into big banana trees. And at some points, you also have to come in and thin them out, but that's no problem because every time you thin out a pata, you get more organic matter. Okay, so plant number two for your getting started with your agroforestry system on degraded land is you need a nitrogen fixer. And this is a really good one. This is called mataraton, or madre de cacao up in Colombia. Mataraton is in our area of Ecuador, that's what they call it. And Glircidia is the Latin name. I'll put that in the notes too. So the advantages of the mataraton is that it is like I said, it's leguminous, meaning that it's helping to fix nitrogen, okay? So it attracts certain bacteria down here in the soil, and those bacteria bind to nitrogen in the soil, so it helps to sequester nitrogen. Also, it's a very fast grower, and it just simply grows from staves, okay, from sticks. So when you have like a nice thick branch like this, you can simply cut the thick branch down, cut it into about meter length pieces there, stick them in the ground, and you're going to get another mataraton right away. This is great interplanted with other species that need a lot of nitrogen, like cacao or other trees, because also you can cut the green stuff, you can cut the leaves, and the leaves also have a lot of nitrogen and other minerals in them. So you can do a lot of chop and drop and chop and mulch with mataraton. So it's a really great food for the soil and for the other plants that you're planning to grow as your system starts to get a little bit more established. So number two, mataraton or madre de cacao. So tree number three here for your agroforestry system, this is Inga, or guayaba, or ice cream bean as it's also known. And this is also a very fast growing tree, grows very easily from seed. We actually planted this one from seed 5 years ago when we first got here, And you can see by the chunky diameter of the trunk just how healthy and vibrant this tree is. Grows very fast. It's also leguminous, so it's also a nitrogen fixer. This one does produce a food. It produces the edible ice cream bean that kind of tastes like a little bit like vanilla ice cream. Very pleasant to eat. And the other great advantage of this tree that the other ones don't have, like the banana and the madre de cacao, is that it has a lot of spread to it. Yeah, it's got a spreading canopy. And the other thing you're really going to be missing if you're working on a pasture is shade, because it is hot as hell to be out there working in a pasture all day, okay? So it provides shade, and shade is wonderful because it shades out the grass. Our grounds used to be completely covered just by grass, by African swordgrass, very invasive species. Now we've got a lot of native ground covers mixed in. The soil has softened. It's got a lot of organic matter in it because we get a lot of leaf fall. So that would be another criteria to look for, is a spreading canopy, something that's going to give you shade and is going to give you leaves that fall in a wider diameter to feed a wider amount of soil, and also to shade out if you've got any kind of invasive grass on the ground, you want to shade that out. So number 3, Inga, or otherwise known as guayaba or ice cream bean. Number 4, I would go with any kind of a citrus. The great thing about citrus in the tropics and subtropics is it's an early producer. This is a bicolor limon tree. We planted this one from a little sapling when we first got here 5 years ago, and now it's immense. It's got a great spreading canopy. It smells great. We get a lot of lemons from it. We have other citrus too. We've got a lot of lime trees, mandarinas, which are tangerines, which started producing this year. And citrus is great because you get an early producer. People come to your farm and you have something to offer them that's juicy and delicious. You're not just like, oh, look at my nitrogen sequesterer, because like nobody cares, right? At some point they're going to want to eat something from your food forest. And it smells really great. The leaves give off an amazing lemony smell. So any kind of a citrus for early production, nice spreading canopy, good smells, good things to eat. And you have something to offer your guests. So number 4, I would go with any type of a citrus in a tropical, subtropical climate. Plant number 5 is yucca or cassava. Not technically a tree, and it's an annual. It's not a perennial, okay? It's an annual crop. Produces a lot of food. And I've got some other videos I'll also reference in the notes where I'm harvesting cassava. Big tubers, okay? Great big huge tubers down here in the ground. When you harvest them out, creates tunnels, creates aeration, it creates drainage. These are also things that your soil is going to be missing if it's compacted and it's been degraded. So you get lots of food, good edible starch from yucca, high in minerals. You get a soil plunderer, a soil digger, a soil plunger. It's a tiller. You don't have to do much if you have yucca, and it's a quick producer. You get food from yucca in about 9 to 10 months. And yeah, another great thing to have for your food forest when you're just getting started would be yucca or cassava. So that would be number 5. Number 6, balsa. Balsa is actually a volunteer. This amazing tree, this huge trunk, 5 years ago was not here. We did not plant this. Now you can buy balsa saplings and you can also grow it from seeds. So don't worry, it doesn't have to volunteer. Balsa is one of the first things that will come in if you've made a disturbance on your land, meaning if you've created an edge, a place where a seed can germinate, okay? Balsa is a really great thing because it grows so quickly, and it's got a huge spreading canopy with really large leaves, and these leaves, as you can see, they drop all over the ground, and they create this beautiful path for us. They soften up the soil. They stop the water from pummeling the ground and creating mud, which is a big problem in subtropical areas where there's been degradation. Okay, so the leaves cushion the ground so that the water doesn't hit as hard. Pragmatic and be realistic about your food forest, right? Your food forest that's got to feed you, it might need to have to put money in your pocket. Balsa is a great investment right now, and it's also doing all the other amazing ecological functions of your other pioneers. Okay, number 7 Don't forget to plant beautiful colors. So always remember, and also these things, they will be pretty very quickly. Remember, you're not just planting for yourself and what you want to eat, or maybe what you want to sell, but in a food forest, you're also planting for all the creatures around you, the birds, the bees, the hummingbirds, the pollinators, the beneficial insects. So plant beautiful colors to attract other creatures that you also want to invite into your system. So number 7, anything pretty, anything colorful, anything that's going to bring in the pollinators.